Maverick traders, welcome out to your currency recap. It's August 18th. Corey here with you. We're going to go through meaningful news. We're going to talk about what's moving the markets or lack thereof. There's movement in the negotiations between Trump, Zelensky, Putin. We'll touch on that. As always, we're going to highlight our very best trade ideas.
All trades and analysis in this video are intended for professional traders only. This content does not constitute financial advice and is for educational purposes. This video is being released after a short delay due to Compliance Department review. Maverick members receive this content immediately as part of their daily trading resources. If you're ready to level up, consider joining Maverick Currencies. Our traders trade firm capital and keep 70 to 80% of profits. You bring the skill, we provide the backing. Let's get into today's market recap and see how the pros are trading the currency markets.
All right, so as we look at markets today, the news early, kind of quiet. We had some negotiations. Apparently, whether this is true or not, the Trump administration is releasing information that Russia has agreed to allow safety measures similar to NATO type of protections for Ukraine. Again, a lot of this news is unsubstantiated. It's coming in fast and furious, but markets are awaiting developments as Trump negotiates with Ukraine and with Russia. The Jackson Hole Symposium is out this week. It starts on Thursday, day 2 on Friday. Fed Chair Powell will be speaking. Historically speaking, if you want a little homework assignment, you can go back and look at some Jackson Hole meetings where Fed policies have changed and there's been substantial market moves. I would expect this one to be fairly quiet, but you can never guarantee that. And history has said, well, there have been a couple of times where big volatile events have come from that. Japanese yen is down about 0.75%. CAD higher, New Zealand dollar higher by about 0.25%. But again, fairly quiet start to the week. Crypto struggling out of the gates. Oil sharply higher, up about 1%. Nice move there in oil. And if we look within crypto, nothing was really spared. Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, all down in the 1 to 2% range. The S&P 500, about as quiet a day as you can find. So if you look at the price action, this is a candlestick that is tiny in size. So we call this a narrow range candle. The size of ranges matters in terms of this right here. If you were to just look at it in terms of its size and compare that to something like back here, I mean, look at how big this candlestick is. So there's a huge difference in terms of volatility around those type of days. You have expanded range candles sometimes. You have really narrow range candles. And what does a narrow range candle suggest? Along with it being a doji is where you open and close at basically the same price. We open at 64.45, we close at basically the same number. So not only did you open and close at essentially unchanged, you had a tiny little trading range. So we call this a volatility compression. Volatility is getting compressed, squished, and usually this will last for about a week, 10 days maybe. There will be a bout of it happening for a while, and I would anticipate that you'll just kind of chop in a relatively tight range here as that volatility compression materializes. So we're waiting for something of a catalyst. We're waiting for some sort of change. That'll happen, but for now, we're in that volatility compression mode. Now, is this week going to get us out of that? Well, New Zealand has their rate statements. They're expected to cut by 25 basis points. We've got CPI data out of the UK area. We've got Fed meeting minutes. Those, again, that's a look back and the discussions happening within the Fed. We've got some PMI data out of Europe, the UK section. Some manufacturing and services PMI out of the US as well. So if you're looking for PMI data, Thursday is the day for that. And I think the biggest event is Fed Chair Powell and the Jackson Hole Symposium. This one has at least the most potential for something of a change in markets, something of a catalyst to get things moving. If we look at the volatility here, it's just not exciting. We always say anything between -1 to +1, which is this whole section, is not moving. There's just a lack of velocity, a lack of momentum. The only thing that's really tradable right now from a velocity standpoint is crypto, and that would be on the downside. Now, I've been on record as saying I think Bitcoin's going to go down below 110 Bitcoin here in the not too distant future. Below 110,000 per Bitcoin seems likely. I mean, I would anticipate, in fact, if you had a little longer time horizon, that we go dip back into the 90s, back in the 93,000 for Bitcoin. I think we saw a little bit of a change as the U.S. has started to lighten up, started to announce some strategic reserves of crypto and so forth, allowing these things in your 401ks, and yet it really can't go to the upside even with this good news. There's usually a big size pullback coming. So I think crypto on the downside is really just continues to be maybe more of the trading opportunity. Let's talk about some possible trades. So here's Euro Aussie. And if you're looking at Euro Aussie from a trading standpoint, it's probably the one thing that someone can trade right now in a currency pair. You had a recent pullback to the old breakout zone that held, and you can see our bounce. Then, as we said, crypto on the downside. So Bitcoin in a downward trend. You can see the downward slope on a sell signal. Overall downward trend here in the RSIs. It has the characteristics. It's on a little bit of a bounce, but I suspect this is a bounce that should be old support acts as new resistance and the reversal coming. Additionally, if we were to look at Bitcoin Cash, BCH, similar chart. Bearish signals, downward slope, downward trend, all the characteristics for lower prices to come in. Bitcoin Cash, the crypto markets in general look like the shorts. And if you're going to play long, again, as we see it, you've got Euro on the long side, you've got Aussie on the weak side, and those seem like the closest to moving to the proper velocity, moving in the right directions. Hope you enjoyed today's currency recap. Have a great week, everyone, and we'll see you next time.